Let me be upfront about something. The reason I started the 2023 Rurouni Kenshin remake had nothing to do with excitement. It had nothing to do with nostalgia for the original series, nothing to do with curiosity about what a modern adaptation could do with the source material, and nothing to do with being a particularly forgiving person when it comes to supporting work connected to creators who have done genuinely terrible things. I started it out of spite. Pure, petty, fully committed spite. The plan was simple. Watch enough to have an informed opinion, confirm that it was not worth anyone's time, and move on with a clean conscience. The plan did not survive contact with the actual show. This video is about why, and it is also about the more uncomfortable question sitting underneath that, which is what you do when something connected to a person who caused real harm turns out to be genuinely, undeniably good. For anyone who needs the context, Nobuhiro Watsuki, the manga artist who created Rurouni Kenshin, was charged in 2017 for something horrible. Not going into that, he pleaded guilty. He received a fine. The original anime series was pulled from streaming platforms temporarily. The manga was suspended and then quietly resumed. The 2023 remake was announced and produced while all of that sat in the public record, not hidden, not addressed in any meaningful way by the production, just present in the background of every conversation about the new series. The anger around that is legitimate. The decision to continue adapting and profiting from his work while he faced those charges and that conviction is a decision that reasonable people can and do object to strongly. Watching the remake knowing all of that is not a neutral act. It is a choice, and the choice means something different to different people depending on their relationship to that kind of harm. That is the context. It does not go away, and this video is not going to pretend it does. What happened when I sat down to watch anyway, fully prepared to be unimpressed, is what this video is actually about. The 2023 remake is produced by Leiden Films, and within the first episode, it is obvious that this is not a cash grab built on brand recognition. The production quality is serious. The animation is fluid in ways that matter specifically for a story about swordsmanship, where the choreography of a fight needs to feel both technically precise and emotionally legible at the same time. The color work is deliberate. The sound design gives weight to impacts in a way that cheaper productions skip entirely. None of that was what I was expecting, and the spike of annoyance I felt when I realized the show was actually good was, in retrospect, the most honest reaction I have had to an anime in a while. The Meiji-era setting is handled with more care than most historical anime bother with. The tension between a Japan modernizing at speed and the people whose entire identity was built around a world that modernization was erasing is not just backdrop. It is the engine of the story. Kenshin as a character only makes sense inside that specific historical moment. A former assassin who swore never to kill again in an era where the killing he did helped create a society that no longer needs or wants what he used to be. That is a genuinely rich foundation, and the remake commits to it in a way that the original series, charming as it was, did not always have the production resources to fully realize. Kenshin himself is where the remake earns the most of its goodwill, and where I found myself most reluctant to admit it was working on me. The original anime Kenshin is beloved, and the oroing, slightly bumbling exterior over a devastating competence underneath is a character construction that holds up. But the 2023 version has something the original did not always sustain, which is a consistent undercurrent of genuine psychological weight. This is a man carrying the specific memory of every person he killed, not as an abstract burden, but as a presence. The way the remake handles his stillness, the moments where something in a scene touches the edge of that history and you watch him absorb it and choose not to react, is quieter and more precise than I expected from what I had assumed would be a straightforward nostalgia product. Kaoru is also better served by the remake than I remembered her being in the original. She is not just the optimistic counterweight to Kenshin's darkness. She has a stubbornness and a clarity of conviction that the show treats as genuine strength rather than naive cheerfulness, and the dynamic between her and Kenshin in the early episodes has an actual texture to it that makes the relationship feel earned rather than assumed. Sanosuke arrives and is immediately the most entertaining person on screen, which is exactly correct and exactly as it should be. The Jinne arc is where the remake stopped being a show I was watching critically and became a show I was just watching. Jinne as a villain works because he is not a foil designed to test Kenshin's no-killing vow in an abstract sense. He is a specific kind of person, someone who found his true self in the chaos of the revolution and cannot survive the peace that followed, who recognizes in Kenshin the same nature, and is determined to drag it back to the surface. The confrontation between them is not just a fight, it is an argument about identity, about whether a person can genuinely become someone other than what they were built to be, and the remake stages it with enough visual and emotional weight that the answer the show gives lands with real force. That sequence is legitimately great television. Not great for a remake, not great given the circumstances around its production, just great, sitting next to anything the medium produced in 2023 and holding its own without apology. That realization sat uncomfortably, which I suspect means it was honest. Here is the part I have been building toward, and the part I find genuinely difficult to resolve cleanly. The 2023 Rurouni Kenshin remake is one of the better anime I have watched in the past few years. The world building is confident, the characters are well served by the adaptation, the production is serious, and the story it is telling has genuine things to say about violence and identity and the cost of surviving a version of yourself you are trying to leave behind. It deserved the audience it found and will likely deserve the continued adaptation that appears to be coming. Watsuki's conviction is also real. The harm that category of crime causes is real. The fact that his work continued to be adapted and monetized after his guilty plea is a decision the industry made that is worth being clear-eyed about rather than looking past. Both of those things are true at the same time, and they do not resolve each other. The show being good does not make the circumstances of its production acceptable. The circumstances of its production do not make the show bad. What you do with that tension is a personal decision, and I am not going to tell you what the right answer is because I do not think there is a clean one. What I will tell you is that I went in wanting to switch it off after 3 episodes and watch the entire available run in 4 days. Spike got me in the door. The show made me stay, and the discomfort of that experience produced more genuine thinking about how I engage with art and its creators than most anime I watch, with clean hands and 0 reservations. That is probably worth something, even if I am still figuring out exactly what. Drop a comment if you watched the remake and where you landed on it. And subscribe if this kind of honest, occasionally uncomfortable anime conversation is worth having. There is more coming.